This time on low boost, we start tearing this thing apart. I don't know what we would do in our garage if we didn't have these little dollies to move the cars around. It makes everything so much easier. I'll put a link to these in the description below. They're freaking awesome. All right, so if you guys are new to the channel, I have a 1994 BMW E36 Turbo LS Swap. I love this car. It's the first car that I really built that I put on the YouTube channel, and I have no plans on getting rid of it anytime soon, but it is in need of some upgrades. So a couple of things that it needs is it definitely needs a new clutch. Anytime I try to throw any amount of boost at this thing, the McLeod RST is just not going to cut it. So we've got to upgrade to the RXT that should be able to handle 1,000 foot-pounds of torque, which is a lot more than we're ever going to throw at this thing, but I do want to be able to launch it. The next thing we're going to replace on this thing is the rear end. Right now this has the 188 millimeter rear end that came out of the E36 6 cylinders. It's definitely not going to cut it. I got a 210 millimeter diff that's out of the old or E32 750Is and or 760Is, and that should handle all the power that we need. Those drive shafts, they're out of a E36 M3. They're getting sent out to drive shaft shop to get reinforced for 1,000 horsepower. And doing that, I'm also going to have to upgrade the rear trailing arms and get E36 M3 brakes. So the whole rear end is going to have to get swapped out, and we're going to reinforce the subframe while we're at it too. Next, shit, I lost my center cap. I'm going to need a center cap. The other thing is that when it's in traffic and when it's hot out, it really overheats. So I'm going to do some stuff with the radiator to move it forward and see if that actually alleviates the issues that I'm having with keeping it cool in traffic. When I'm driving on the road, it's like 180 degrees. The coolant temps are fine, but when it sits in traffic, it heat soaks. And my turbo kit is right next to the radiator, and I think that has a really big deal when it's just sitting there kind of overheating it. So we're going to change that. Bumpers are all going to come off, the front bumper, the rear bumper, and I also have an E36 M3 spoiler that I'm going to paint. See it back there? It's going to get sent out to get painted, so the whole thing will match and be black and be nice for next year. So if you guys are into that kind of stuff, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned. Here we go. So if you guys haven't noticed yet, I have this car up on QUICKJACKS. They're a great tool to have if you're working on a car. Right on the Mustang is on the lift up there, so we're really not going to be able to throw it up, but we're going to do all of our welding over here. It's right by our welding station, so I'm going to keep it on the QUICKJACKS. I'll put a link to these in the description below. They were like $1,400, $1,300. I got them online. The link should be, I think it's from eBay. I think that's where the best place to get them is right now. I'll put a link in the description below for it, but let's get started on taking the rear end apart. So these brakes have seen much better days. The front brakes have already been upgraded. I went to E46 330i brakes, and I did a whole video on that too, so you can check out how I did that. But the rear brakes will also have to get upgraded, and these are going to be on E36 rear trailing arms. So you have to actually E36 M3 rear trailing arms. So you are going to have to get the E36 M3 brakes. If you guys have ever seen a shot of the exhaust, but it's a V-band 3.5 inch. And we got a flex pipe there, and this is 3.5 inch, which we bent in a vise. Heated it up, bent it in a vise, and then have an exhaust bracket here to hold it up. I do have a cutout, haven't put anything on it yet, but do have that. And then there's a Flowmaster Super 40 muffler in the back. So that's my full exhaust. Keeps the car kind of quiet. Wastegate is still vented to the atmosphere, and it's done there. And there's my Borg Warner SXE 372 Turbo. I know you guys are thinking, why am I pulling off a black bumper to get painted if the car's already black? Well, this is an M3 bumper, and the M3 black that came on the E36s is a different color from regular E36s. This is Schwartz 2, and I'm pretty sure they called this Midnight Black Metallic. It has some flakes of black in it, and you know, when everything's dirty, it all looks the same, but when the car is really clean, you can tell that this is a different shade of black. So I'm gonna be painting the bumper and the spoiler at the same time, so I might as well just get all of them out to get sprayed the same color as this, so everything looks good. So for the most part, taking the rear end out of the sucker is pretty easy, but getting the e-brake disconnected is a pain in the butt because it's like press fit in there and it's rusted. So I'll show you how I kind of got it out. I literally stuck an Allen key in here to go into that, and I just hit it with a hammer just to kind of loosen it up and then pry it out on the other side. It is a pain in the butt, but I want to retain the e-brake, so I want to keep this cable. It's not in bad shape. All right, so the subframe is out. Looking underneath the car, this thing's pretty clean for how old it is, but you see right here where this one is, that bolt there, that is where we have to weld our subframe reinforcement bracket. So it looks like there's some sound deadening there. We'll have to, you know, flap disc some of that away. But man, this thing is rust free. It's pretty clean. All right, as you can see, the diff is upside down. This is my 210mm diff. I got my rally road brace here, just getting all the rest of the bolts together to put it together. Gonna have to shave down some of this to get bare metal and weld this, and then on the other side. But what I'm gonna do is also weld braces across this, on that side and on this side, to kind of stiffen this up too. So the last thing we want is for any of this to shift and move, and while we have it all apart, now is the time to do it. So I'm not totally comfortable with showing you what my welds look like before I grind them down, but one brace here is done. Hit it with the flat disc. This just really prevents the rest of the car from twisting. I might put another one on the other side, you know, and obviously paint it all black, but just to reinforce it a little extra. And it's kind of like what it looks like, gonna make it fit just right, and then butt weld it up. And you know, this should really help it out a lot. I'm not a good welder, guys, and I'm trying to get better, but the only way to do it is to practice. I really gotta mess with my settings a little bit, because I feel like if I can get the settings down right, it'll look good. But I welded this seam first and then tacked it there, and then just started to bang it over with a hammer until and then I would weld, let it cool, bang it, fold it, so it actually made it kind of round around it. And then when I got up to the top, I seamed it, and then banged this side in with a hammer and welded down that way. It's not pretty. It's not pretty, but it's got great penetration, and I hit it hard with a hammer, so it ain't going anywhere. But this definitely is gonna reinforce this significantly. Gonna hit the rest of it with a wire wheel. I already sandblasted it once and paint this up. It's gonna look really good when it's done. Probably gonna flap that down a little bit more. All right, so now both sides of the subframe have been reinforced all the way around into here. Don't mind, it doesn't look pretty. I got good penetration and it's gonna hold. These things are super solid now, so on good launches, it's gonna hold up pretty good. Just gotta wait for one more bolt for the diff, and then I can actually put the bracket up here and we can weld that. So I'm just waiting on that. All right, so got some of the parts repainted. I didn't go crazy on the trailing arms because you're not gonna see most of it, but the spots you're gonna see I painted where there could be some rust, and scuffed these up pretty good, and they came out all right. I'm gonna hit it with some paint again. It's not supposed to look super pretty but the idea is to prevent it from rusting again and look good underneath if people ever see it. So, not bad. This stuff, just got it at the local auto store. Works pretty good. That about wraps it up for this episode. In the next episode, I'm going to continue working on the subframe, finish reinforcing everything, putting some brackets on to reinforce the subframe, to get everything going, to put everything back together. So, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.